A London street, now sadly an ordinary day. 2 people stabbed simply because they're Jewish. It's now been declared a terrorist incident. It's Iranian-backed. And what do we get? What do we get from the Prime Minister? The usual, justice will be served. It won't. We've still got the IRGC, not as a prescribed organisation, though he's now promised to do it. And we still have the Muslim Brotherhood, banned in most sensible Muslim countries, able to do what they like, and hate marches allowed in British cities. Something much bigger needs to happen. My thoughts with the community, but I'm afraid we need action. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Oh, lovely talking to you.
Nice to talk to you. And can you believe it's all happening again?
Could it happen again?
Well, we've got to get it back on track. We've got to get.
We depend on your kindness, on your generosity, constant.
Yes, I'm afraid it is a constant battle. I'll do everything I can. The 3 things that government can do today, very, very quickly, to say, look, we know the difference is what is right and what is wrong.
Just nice as we can. We don't want to flood the cafe. Thank you.
Quiet morning out.
Well, let me start by saying what an appalling attack this is, and my thoughts and all of our thoughts are with the victims, their families, and their loved ones. And let's be frank, this is not an isolated incident. There have been a series of anti-Semitic attacks, and I know firsthand the anxiety that is causing in the community and concern. I was at Kenton Synagogue last week where I heard a lot about that level of anxiety. It'll be worse after today. We're very much in touch with the community, and I'll visit as soon as possible.
This is yet another anti-Semitic attack in this country, and you've said yourself that it's the first responsibility of government to ensure citizens' safety. Your critics will say you're not doing that.
Well, I've just held a COBRA meeting bringing together all the relevant partners, including the Home Secretary, the London Mayor, the Metropolitan Commissioner, to coordinate our response and to look at enhanced security. I've also spoken to CST. There is enhanced funding already in place. We need to increase that to give the level of protection that is needed. We need to take measures to deal with malign state actors, but we also have to be really clear that we need to get to the root causes of extremism and anti-Semitism, and so that is what we're doing.
Kenny Badenoch says this is a national emergency. Nigel Farage says the Jewish community is in your thoughts and prayers, but with no action. What do you say to these criticisms?
Well, the government is taking action in relation to security, cohesion, extremism, but of course it's our responsibility to coordinate the immediate response here to this appalling attack, to ensure security is in place, to take other measures. I'm holding a meeting tomorrow with the criminal justice agencies to make sure that we can have effective and swift justice in these cases. But we do have to recognise the levels of anxiety and concern there are that I know about in terms of the Jewish community feeling very much exposed and vulnerable, feeling they've got to hide their identity, sometimes in the health service, sometimes at school, on the streets where they live. And it's our job to make sure that they feel safe and secure. It's our job to make sure that we absolutely deal with the roots of anti-Semitism and extremism. That is what we will do.
Home Secretary, the Metropolitan Police have said that this is being treated as a terrorist incident. Why is that? Is there any evidence that perhaps terrorists linked to Iran might have been involved here?
Well, this horrifying attack has now been declared a terrorist incident. The police are continuing to investigate, but the initial circumstances do suggest that the designation as a terrorist incident is the right one, as more of the facts are established in what is very early investigation phase at the moment. We will, of course, be sharing those with the public. There isn't any further information we can give at this stage other than that this horrifying attack has now been declared a terrorist incident.
Connections to Iran, perhaps?
Well, it's very early to say what the motivations of this attacker may have been, and it would be improper for me to speculate whilst the facts are being established. But as soon as more facts are established, then we will, of course, be keeping the public updated.
In terms of keeping the public safe, and particularly the Jewish community safe, the PM said that the first responsibility of the state is to keep people safe. and yet the Jewish community are clearly less safe than their neighbours, aren't they?
Well, look, I want to be very clear that this is a horrifying attack. It is now being declared as a terrorist incident, and my thoughts are with the victims, their families, and the wider community as well. An attack on our Jewish community is an attack on us all, and we take the safety of our Jewish community very seriously. The government has already been taking action on security, on making sure that our synagogues, our community centres, our Jewish schools are well protected. There has been an enhanced police presence that will continue, and we will strain every sinew to keep all of our Jewish community safe.
You talk about an enhanced police presence, but as you've said, this is not the first time there's been an attack. There's been quite a few, particularly in the Golders Green area. One thinks of the ambulances being torched and so on. What more can you do? What more needs to be done to make the Jewish community feel safer? Because clearly they're very worried.
Well, look, my first responsibility is to make sure that on the security side of the picture and also with policing that we are doing absolutely everything that we can. That's why the government has recently announced an uplift in funding for Project Servitor, which is responsible for putting more specialist and plainclothes police officers within some of our Jewish community areas. I will make sure we do everything in our power to keep our community safe, but we're also very clear as a government that we have to tackle the root causes of anti-Semitism that is leading to this environment in which our Jewish community is coming under attack. We put money behind education to try to deal with these issues when our children are young so that they understand how we should behave towards one another, to root out hatred before it is able to take hold. And my colleagues in the health department and in other parts of government are reviewing the wider response that we need as a government, because we are absolutely clear, yes, we have to keep our community safe, but we do have to deal with the root causes as well, and we will.
Well, you talk about the root causes, but whatever you're doing about the root causes doesn't seem to be working, does it?
Well, look, we are already taking a large amount of action on security, on policing, and on funding for protective security as well. We will go further as the situation develops, and I will make sure that we are doing everything that we possibly can. But we are clear also that we as a government need to respond to the wider societal issues that we are seeing, so that we're straining every sinew to keep our community safe. Of course, some of these measures take some time to take effect. Education programs will take time, but we are clear that they are the right things to do, and we are reviewing where further we can go as well.
It's not just the Jewish community here who are concerned, but the Israeli government. You probably know that Isaac Herzog, the Israeli president, has said the UK government can no longer claim anti-Semitism is under control, and he says the Prime Minister's words are no substitute for confronting roots of anti-Semitism. The Jewish community, are they losing patience with all this sympathy and warm words and not enough action?
Well, look, I'm very clear. Our Jewish community are a part of our community here in the United Kingdom, and I want them to feel safe. I do not want Jewish people in our country to be leading a smaller life or to have to build ever higher walls in order to keep themselves safe. These are not warm words. They are a statement of intent and what is not acceptable in our country. I will not tolerate a situation where our Jewish citizens have to lead smaller lives compared to the rest of us. That is not acceptable to me. It is why we are taking very clear action on security, on protective security for the community, on more policing within the community, and every other measure that we can to keep people safe, but also acknowledging that we do have to deal with the root causes. They will take longer to deal with because these issues of anti-Semitism did not appear overnight. It is, as we know, often described as the oldest hatred, but I'm very clear that this government can and will take the action that is needed to root out anti-Semitism from our country for all.
What would you say to political opponents, your political opponents, who might say that the Labour government is not doing enough to protect the Jewish community or tackle this sort of violence because they're worried about pro-Gaza voters and pro-Gaza candidates in elections and the threat to Labour at the ballot box next week?
I think it's absolutely abhorrent for anybody to try to play party politics with issues of safety of our Jewish community in this country, or indeed of any of our citizens in this country. This is not a party political football for anybody to be knocking around, and there is nothing other than the safety of our Jewish community that is in my mind when I'm taking the action that I am taking as Home Secretary, and I know that applies across government. This has everything to do with keeping our own people in our own country safe, and any suggestion otherwise I think is absolutely abhorrent.
Do you have any more information for us on the condition of the two people who've been stabbed?
We know that one man in his 70s and one in his 30s were stabbed. They are being looked after in hospital, and we will be providing more information in due course.
You planning to go to Golders Green?
I will be visiting. I'm already in contact with policing directly and with members of the community, and I hope to be able to go and visit them very soon.
Is the Prime Minister going?
I will not be able to comment on further diary matters to you now, but the government is responding and taking these issues very, very seriously.
Prime Minister's questions, Sir Keir Starmer ignored a question from Kemi Badenoch about shuffling the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Are you expecting a cabinet reshuffle on Saturday?
The only thing I'm doing is concentrating on my job as Home Secretary, and that means responding to the horrifying incident that we have seen in Golders Green today. I'm getting on with my job, and I know that's true for every other member of this government.